I still remember the exact moment my father grabbed my IV line. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and cold plastic. Machines beeped slowly beside me, each sound echoing in the quiet room. My body felt heavy, weak, like I had been drained of every bit of strength, but none of that compared to the pain of hearing my own father shout at me. "You always fake being sick," he yelled, gripping the IV line attached to my arm. "You just want attention." I tried to speak, but my throat felt dry and tight. "Dad, please," I whispered. But he didn't listen. And in that moment, lying in a hospital bed while my father accused me of lying about my own illness, I realized something that hurt more than the needles in my arm. He had never believed me, not once. My name is Emily, and for most of my life, my father believed I was a liar. Growing up, I was always the dramatic child in his eyes. If I had a headache, he said I was exaggerating. If I felt dizzy, he said I was lazy. If I stayed home from school, he would shake his head and mutter, "You just don't want to work hard like everyone else." My mom used to defend me when she was alive. "She's not pretending," Mom would say gently. "Something isn't right with her health." But my father would just sigh and say, "Kids these days are soft." When my mom passed away 3 years ago, everything got worse. Without her, I had no one to stand between me and my father's constant disbelief. And the truth was, I was getting sicker. It started with exhaustion, not the normal kind, the kind where even walking up the stairs felt like climbing a mountain. Then came the fainting. I collapsed once at school, then again at work. Doctors kept running tests, but nothing seemed clear. Some suggested stress. Others mentioned rare conditions but weren't sure. My father used every uncertain diagnosis as proof. "See," he'd say, "even the doctors don't know anything, you're fine." But I knew my body. Something inside me was failing. The day everything exploded started like any other bad day. I woke up feeling like my chest was being squeezed from the inside. My heart raced even though I was lying still. By the time I reached the kitchen, my vision had gone blurry. Then everything went black. When I woke up, bright lights were above me. Paramedics. Someone was saying my blood pressure was dangerously low. They rushed me to the hospital. I barely remember the ride, just the sound of sirens and a paramedic telling me to stay awake. At the hospital, doctors moved quickly. Blood tests, heart monitors, oxygen. They placed an IV in my arm and admitted me immediately. For the first time in years, a doctor looked at me with real concern. "We need to run some urgent tests," she said. But before those results came back, my father arrived. He stormed into the hospital room like he owned the place. "What is this nonsense?" he demanded. I was too weak to argue. "I collapsed," I whispered. He rolled his eyes. "You probably skipped breakfast, and now you want sympathy." The nurse standing nearby frowned slightly, but she didn't interrupt. My father stepped closer to my bed, his face hard. "You called an ambulance for this?" he said. "Do you know how embarrassing that is?" My chest tightened again. "Dad, I didn't call them. Someone at work did." But he was already shaking his head. Then he grabbed the IV line attached to my arm. The sudden tug sent a sharp pain through me. "You always fake being sick," he shouted. "Enough of this drama." The nurse immediately stepped forward. "Sir, please don't touch the equipment." But my father ignored her. "You've been pretending for years," he said to me. "Your mother spoiled you." Those words felt like knives. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell him how many nights I stayed awake because my heart felt like it would explode. How many mornings I forced myself to stand even when my legs shook. But I didn't have the strength. Tears slid silently down my face. Then the door opened. A doctor walked in holding a clipboard. She stopped the moment she saw my father gripping the IV. "Sir, step away from the patient immediately." Her voice was calm, but firm. My father scoffed. "This is ridiculous," he said. "She's been pretending to be sick for years." The doctor looked at him for a long moment. Then she said something that changed everything. "Actually, your daughter is very sick." The room went quiet. My father crossed his arms. "Oh, really?" he said sarcastically. "What is it this time?" The doctor looked directly at him. "Your daughter has a severe heart condition, one that has likely been developing for years." My father's smirk faded slightly. The doctor continued. "Her heart rhythm is dangerously unstable. If she hadn't been brought to the hospital today, she could have gone into cardiac arrest." My father blinked. For the first time, he looked uncertain. The doctor flipped a page on her clipboard. "We also found something else," she added. My stomach tightened. "Something else?" She looked at me gently before speaking again. "The condition appears to be genetic." My father frowned. "What does that mean?" The doctor met his eyes. "It means there's a high chance it came from one of her parents." The room went silent again. Then she said the words that made my father turn pale. "Based on her test results, we strongly recommend that you get tested as well." My father laughed nervously. "That's ridiculous. I'm perfectly healthy." The doctor didn't smile. "Many people with this condition feel fine, until they don't." 10 minutes later, a nurse asked my father if he'd be willing to do a quick heart screening. He agreed, probably just to prove the doctor wrong. I watched as they placed monitors on his chest. For the first time in my life, my father looked nervous. The test only took a few minutes. But when the doctor looked at the results, her expression changed. She looked at my father, then at me, then back at him. "Sir," she said quietly, "you need to sit down." My father frowned. "Why?" The doctor took a breath. "You have the same condition as your daughter." My father stared at her. "That's impossible." But the doctor shook her head. "Your heart rhythm is already showing dangerous patterns." For a moment, my father said nothing. The confident, loud man who had spent years calling me a liar suddenly looked very small. "You're saying," he whispered, "I could have—" "Yes," the doctor said gently. "You could have collapsed the same way she did." I watched the color drain from his face, and then something happened I had never seen before. My father looked at me, really looked at me, not with anger, not with disbelief, but with something else. Regret. His voice was quiet when he spoke. "All those years," he said slowly, "you were telling the truth." I didn't answer, because the truth was, hearing that didn't feel like victory. It felt like years of pain that could never be undone. The doctors started treatment for both of us that same day. Medication, monitoring, plans for possible surgery. My father stayed silent for most of it, but just before they wheeled me to another department for more tests, he stepped closer to my bed. His eyes were red. "I'm sorry," he whispered. For years I had imagined hearing those words. I thought they would heal something inside me, but instead, I just looked at him and said quietly, "I needed you to believe me when it mattered." And sometimes, the hardest truth in life is realizing that the people who should protect you the most are the last ones to believe your pain.